Welcome to Toffee TV's The Transfer Show. I'm joined by Andy Bailey for the last time.
For the last time?
For now.
I'm not dying.
No,
I'm just leaving.
You're leaving.
Yeah.
Sad.
I don't think anybody in your YouTube comments is going to care too much.
Sad moments. We do. I don't know. Andy with us as well, the fountain of all knowledge.
Wouldn't quite say that, but
Well, you know, we would. Transfers, we're still really, Bales, waiting for everything
big one
to kick off, aren't we? The all domino effect hasn't really kicked in yet. Obviously, it's still June. It's still early, but a lot of teams are back next week for pre-season training. And no big moves, really, from any of the top clubs at the moment.
No, do you think it's going to be, one club makes a big sign and then the rest just follow suit? Because if you go through and look, the top 6 teams, I don't think, Liverpool specifically, I don't think you're going to sign anyone until we see either at all or see a bit of pre-season. See how Harry Wilson and that adapts. Do we need to go and get a versatile forward if Harry Wilson comes in and is pretty good? Chelsea have got a transfer ban. United are notoriously terrible at doing deals. It takes them 6 weeks to get one thing over the line. And you're looking at, Arsenal got no money to spend. Spurs are probably front runners at the minute with the links that they've got. So it's going to take one, I think. It's going to take one and then everybody else sort of follows suit.
I mean, I suppose on that, it's who blinks first, really, isn't it?
There is going to be like a movement, because obviously what you're going to end up is if where Maguire goes, then obviously Leicester then will need to replace him. And then the club they will then sign a centre-back. There's rumours about Lewis Dunk from Brighton, and then the Brighton have already signed the centre-back. They'll obviously, I think they're also linked with the winger from Belgium, Trossard, as well. That should be done this week. Yeah. So the money will start flowing then, and then obviously teams will then start spending. Obviously, a lot of people not back off the holidays from pre-season. Players at Copa America, under 21s. I think that a lot of players are under 21s because there's a lot of good players there. They'll start to make moves as well. So the money will start flowing, and then I think that's sort of the next stage when them competitions are over. They're all back. They'll start moving again.
You just mentioned Harry Maguire there. Manchester City, Manchester United, apparently in an £80 million tug of war for him, which is
outrageous, absurd
in my opinion.
It is nuts.
There you go. I mean, where do you see him going out of those two sides?
Easy to be wrong. Harry Maguire is a decent defender. He's solid and all that. I think Pep would like him because he can get up the field with the ball. He can't carry the ball, but I don't know. He's just, if you're going from company who's like pure class to Harry Maguire, it's just, I don't know. I think Stones are probably then. What are you going to do with Stones? I think Stones expecting to jump up into the first team. Otamendi, and then they've got a couple of young lads, Garcia, who they like as well.
Laporte there, though.
Yeah, Laporte's obviously his first choice. So they have got other players like around the club who can do it. Philip Sandler as well, who wants the opportunity as well. But I don't know. Man United, they probably do need someone like that to play with Lindelof. 80 million though, they could sign. William Saliba's going for 30 million if anyone wants to, much better option, much long term. But Premiership proven, that's what people like to do. England international, I think that's what they're looking at, but not for me. Me.
Where do you see him ending up, Bales?
He's got United written all over him, but I think he'd probably go to City because I think he's like, the weird thing about Maguire for me is to say £80 million what he's been touted as, but like you could spend an extra £20 million and go and buy Koulibaly. Okay, he's 28. Okay, he's got less time and he's not Premier League proven, but he's without a doubt a better centre half for me than Harry Maguire. And he would come into United and be that league between him and De Ligt are the two sort of the big centre halves that could potentially move in the summer. That could come in and sort of properly shore it up. You'd put your money on sort of it hopefully shoring up. But I don't know. Maguire's mental to me. Do you think obviously with Van Dijk going for £75 million? Can you see him being worth more than Van Dijk?
He's nowhere near a better player than Van Dijk. Let's have it right. But I think the days are probably gone where you can go, he's worth more than him. It means he's better. It's like you look now and you see Wan-Bissaka for 50 million, and another fullback we got, Luka Dean, who's 18 million. Yeah. I know I'd rather have him. So I think when you're looking at prices, I don't think you can really. I know what you're saying. You've got a direct comparison. You've got Harry Maguire.
Where are you pulling the number from? Do you know what I mean?
It's just because Leicester have got money. Obviously they've got rich owners, but they've also got the TV money, and teams don't need to sell anymore. No. And they don't want to sell particularly, and they can say, 80 million. That's what the price is. And Man United are going, or Man City going,
well,
we needed centre-back, and that's what we're willing to pay for them. Whereas in the past, it used to be, clubs needed the money, so it'd be easy to get a player. And we got Lost Rooney for 30 million for the tanks, we needed the money. But that's what used to happen, not as much anymore. Even Palace can hold out for 80 million for Zaha.
Well, if you look at, I suppose what they'll do is they'll look and go, well, Van Dijk went for 75 18 months ago, so the bar now is Harry Maguire 80 million. And I'm not saying...
That's the issue. If I'm Man United and City, the player said about Koulibaly, he could be the difference between a team you're getting third, second, first, whatever. Harry Maguire's not the difference between the two.
Who would you, if you were City, would you go for Koulibaly?
I don't think he fits what they're looking for.
No.
It needs to be, Select would have been perfect for them. It would have been, but they just don't seem that interested for it for whatever reason. I don't know. I think they want someone who's going to be a stopper like Company, because obviously they've got Laporte, who's your ball playing centre back next to him. And I think they're looking at Maguire and think that he's Premiership proven, he's going to step in straight away. Just don't see it though.
But out the two, who would you take?
I'd take Koulibaly if I was going to have the choice. I think you're getting better value for money. I know he's 28 and he's never played in the league before, but he could be for 2-3 years. Man City can afford to write off that level of money. It's not like another club who won't look at someone under 26. They can say 3 years of Koulibaly's worth the money investment. So, but again, they don't do that at City. They seem to look at players 25, 26 more than.
Yeah, sorry, Ross. It interests me as well that they City notoriously don't go over £60 million for their signings. It's mad that it would be Harry Maguire is the guy that they break the duck on, because it's like they definitely do need a centre half, but it's to have John Stones, Harry Maguire as two of your options. I think Laporte's fantastic, but those two are so. You've got Kyle Walker, who is, say what you want about him. I don't like Kyle Walker as a player. He was fantastic 3 years ago. They just signed like a 5-year deal as well. Or something. Just renewed his contract. So it's a very strange defence for a guy, especially a title sort of retenting defence. But the fund wise, I don't think Manchester United can afford him, which is strange to say, because I think that they've got. You can talk about United for ages. They've got to basically do 7 deals in the space of 2 weeks, because they notoriously do their deals before pre-season, and they've taken an age to get the Wan-Bissaka deal done. They've bought one of the guys' names left in my head.
Dan James.
Yeah, him. 2 midfielders, a striker if Lukaku goes, a right winger. Also got to sell Paul Pogba. And it's like there's too much stuff going on there, and then it obviously came out in the press that Solskjaer might only have £100 million to spend. So it's like, I don't know if that's the risk.
Yeah, you look at Man United, and they've obviously, as you say, they've got a lot of positions to fill. Really need a defensive midfielder, like an out-and-out defensive midfielder. Link with Rice for, again, a ridiculous 70 million.
Link with Longstaff as well, aren't he?
Again, he played 10-15 games, Longstaff. He's a good player, but I understand what the perspective of Man United. They want to go back to that Ferguson buying young English players. I don't think that works anymore. I think you're overpaying in a lot of cases. If you're paying 80 million for Maguire, that's a massive overpay, considering you could probably get Canati from Leipzig for about 60, who's only 19, he's going to be one of the best centre-backs in the world. I think that's the problem when you're buying from the Premier League. Clubs can't afford to put the price up, and with Man United, I just don't see. I think they, for me, they would be favourites for Maguire, but as you said, I just don't see them spending 80 million on him. No. If it was 50, then I'd go, all right, maybe, yeah. But 80 million, it's just too much for a player of that ability.
But one player, it looks like the deal may happen, is obviously Wan-Bissaka. Yeah. Had a really good season for Crystal Palace.
Recently scored an own goal.
Horrendous for England under 21s. I mean, horrendous for England under 21s, obviously. But he's a very, very good footballer. There's loads of potential. But 50 million quid for one season in the Premier League.
That is absurd.
If you're looking at a player, you're paying 50 million. I think Man City are interested in João Cancelo. Yeah. And he's not great defensively, don't get me wrong. He's decent defensively. But the difference in ability on the ball between Wan-Bissaka at the same price as him is just worlds apart. Yeah. When Wan-Bissaka gets to the final third, he's a good dribbler, but the decision making, the pass, that final pass. And if you're going to be a Champions League club like Manchester United want to be, you need him to get up to a certain level quite quick. And I think, unfortunately for him, what's going to happen is if it doesn't go well for United early in the season, which it may not do, depending on what players they get in, the focus is going to be on what he can't do rather than what he's good at. Because he's a great defender. He's one of the best defending right-backs in probably in world football, really. But when it comes to the focus that he can't put that final ball in and pick that pass out, people are going to start pick up on that. And it's going to turn against them. Like the other night, it was, people who've watched Wan-Bissaka all season say he's been really good and all that. But then a lot of people only seen him the other night for England, so everyone's he's terrible. He's not a good player. But
no, he's not terrible.
It was all a bad example of what he can't do the other night, which is why
I just thought he got caught out so much defensively. Position. He didn't know when people run in behind him. His awareness was just not there, and yet he's been really good, I think, for Palace.
In his defence, I think the manager come out and say he doesn't know where his head's at, and he said, because it's all up in the air. Is he going to stay at Palace? Is he going to go to Manchester United? It's affecting his game, and I can see that. But he's a 21-year-old kid, and it's like in a £50 million move. When Kyle Walker went, he was more mature. He'd been in the Premier League. He was part of one of the best defences in the league at the time. Tottenham were fantastic that season that he left, and to go from Palace to United, and again English Premier League inflation, and knowing that you can rinse United for all their worth because they're dying for a right back. It just looks like it's going to be a poison chalice for him, both because he's going to have heaps of expectation leaped on him because of his price, and because if he comes in, you've still got Smalling, maybe Lindelof or Bailly, maybe De Gea, who knows if he's going to go or not, or stay, and Luke Shaw. That's not. And if they don't sign that centre half, which they do need, we spoke about Harry Maguire. Whilst I don't think he's the answer, I still think they do need a centre half. Does he solve the problem? He doesn't solve their defensive problems for me.
I like Dalot who they've got.
I was going to say, you spent 20 odd million on him last season. Decent going forward. I think he needed time to adapt to the Premier League. They've got high expectations of him in Portugal. Yeah. I just don't understand why I thought Man United bring in a Mounier, maybe even Dani Alves or whatever. Someone older, give them that season. Dalot comes in certain games, but no.
They were talking about making him a right winger.
Yeah, that's the problem. You see, this is where Manchester United, I think, are not really with it, in the sense of the buying for what the manager and this ethos the manager wants to do, rather than a whole club ethos where you're going for Mourinho buys and they're basically Dalot, they're going, we'll move him on, and they need to have a sort of more focused transfer, and I think that's been the issue for United over the last couple of years. They're just not very focused in what they do.
Just for Wan-Bissaka before we move on, for him, I mean, he's seen Wilf Zaha leave Palace for United at a similar age, a young age, and it went up to okay, it didn't work out. Moyes was there, and then different, Van Gaal didn't fancy him when he came back to Palace. Do you think Wan-Bissaka should leave it where it is this season and just say, I'm staying at Palace?
He said in, I think, a newspaper story, he spoke to a local press in South London, said, I'm staying at Palace for another season. And I think it's changed because I think no one expected someone to bid 60 million for him this summer, and because the bids come in, Palace probably said, well, we need what other players we need as well. And I just think it's the wrong move for him, I really do. I think like Zaha, I think it's just the wrong move. I think United are not in a position where, if it was all going great at United, like under Ferguson, for example, and they were winning things and all that, he could slot in, be taken along. But now, the expectation's going to be there for him to improve the side instantly, and if he doesn't, it's just going to go against him.
The world's most expensive fullback if he goes above 50 odd million only. So.
It baffles me, and it's just very typical of what I expected to happen to United, and that's paying over the odds for positions that they need to fill. And I think that'll happen in any position they have. Obviously, maybe the one counter will be like Bruno Fernandes, because I think his price is around 60 million, and if they pay that, it's a good deal. But yeah, I feel no different to what I expected of it, because it was only a month ago that Palace were like, we're not selling it, he's not for sale, because there was a load of like the old United ITKs, all that bollocks, saying they've been interested for 3 months. Palace weren't selling him a month ago, and then United were interested and said, we'll give you the asking price, and that's United's biggest downfall, because there's 3 bids, I believe, that have been made for him. I think it was like, we'll give you, I was either 15 or 25 million pounds with 10 million add-ons, and then they came back and went, right, we'll give you 35 million pounds with 10 million add-ons, and now I believe the latest is 45 million pounds with 8 million pounds add-ons, and it's like, that's United's biggest problem. That's why they're so notorious for being slow with transfers, because they lowball everyone. And I get if you don't want to pay 50 million, but to go in at 25 million with bollocks amounts of add-ons, it's like, it just doesn't, just don't seem serious. And I can see why Palace would be like, well, pay it or don't.
Palace, I say, don't want to lose, and they can just say, we'll keep going until because Manchester United, you say, are desperate, they can just keep going, add the price up. And that's the problem with United, they just do not seem organised. It's either these expensive English players or these world all-stars. So many good players in between that people are picking up at smart signs. United don't seem to be in the market for any of them. I don't know what's going on there, really.
Mad, absolute madness. I mean, the Pogba, there's still a question mark over him, where he'll go. Again, links to Real Madrid and Juventus again. Romelu Lukaku, is a big question mark over him. Inter want him, he wants to go there, but Inter have got the Icardi situation.
The Pogba one's properly blown. Any plans that they do have, whether you say, counteracting myself, they're saying that they're notoriously bad for that. They still will have gone into this transfer window thinking, right, Pogba's staying, so we need that position, and we're fine. Him coming out and publicly saying, I want a new challenge and I'm not happy, that bollocks everything up. Because now you've got to factor in, right, well, we either spend 6 weeks making him stay, bringing him a new contract and saying we really need you here, or manufacturing what would be the move of the summer. Okay, Hazard was fantastic. Wherever Pogba goes will be that move. So it takes up so much time, and United aren't the proactive sort of club to go, right, we'll bring Rabiot and Fernandes in, and then we'll sell him. They'll end up taking 4 weeks to sell him, and then it'll end up being, we kept, what's his face?
Pereira.
No. Who just signed a new deal? Mata.
Mata has signed a new deal.
They'll be like, we kept Mata, so it's fine.
That's where it comes to it, though. I think that's where teams need to be proactive. If you sell Pogba, and then start looking for players, teams know you've got so much money to spend.
Yeah.
Whereas if you, as you say, bought Fernandes and Rabiot, and then we'll sell Pogba now, you're in a position of strength then.
Yeah.
But you're not when you know what I mean. Their transfer bids are now going to go higher. Like with the Palace deal, they're just saying, we know you need the right back. That United just aren't smart, and the fact that they still haven't got a director of football in, despite 5 months ago, them knowing they need one, is just pathetic, really.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. You were talking then, you just mentioned Arsenal not having loads of money.
Yeah.
Links to Kieran Tierney, who Everton linked with last summer. Celtic left back, very good. But they're doing the same, aren't they? They're going in with low offers and...
Because they're trying to stretch the budget, aren't they? Everyone knows the price for Kieran Tierney. Everton were told it exactly last year. It's not changed in a year. He's had a few injury problems, so maybe Arsenal try a chance on that. But it's 25 million. You come in with 15 million. Celtic probably don't need to sell him. If the offer gets high, they will sell him. But who knows what Arsenal have got? Because there's rumours they've got more than 40 million. But if they've only got 40 million, you spend 25 million on left back. You've still got the two slowest centre halves in the league together. They've got so much to change. So they're in trouble as well, really, unless they sell one of the best players.
That's an interesting point, actually. Did you see this stuff about Aubameyang on Instagram? So he put on his Instagram story, he's on holiday at the minute, he posted just an image of the thinking emoji, and the next story was a football. So and that was on Aubameyang's official Twitter. So people were like, okay.
He's considering his options.
What do you think? Because that's the problem with Arsenal, and you bang on there. They have to penny pinch, and they're not. How can you go from a position that Arsenal are in, going into a Europa League loss with Maitland-Niles, Alex Iwobi, and Lacazette and Aubameyang, who just didn't perform? They've got two huge assets, and I suppose you can count Ozil as well. 3 assets, but he's a bit past it now. But they're their 2 key players. I can't see them. If they can't spend money, how do they retain those players, and how do they grow from there? Because whilst United, okay, they've spent 6 years regressing, they've spent over £500 million trying to get back. Arsenal haven't given the opportunity to get back, so Arsenal at the minute are just on a trajectory going downhill, and I quite like Arsenal, but it's like I don't know what's the way out for them.
They'll have to sell one of the best players. Now, whether that's Aubameyang, he's 20, 29?
30.
He's 30, sorry, there you go. So how much money are you going to get for him? Then you look at, selling Ozil. It's basically they'll have to take a hit on the money because they need to get that contract off the bill. I think there was rumours that Xhaka might get sold, but how much you get for Xhaka? Lucas Torreira go back to Italy. This team's interested in him. They're not going to bring you enough money. So they're not Pogba level money, 100 million. They're 30, 40, 50 million. And again, I think they've been linked to players from the second league in France, which is they are good players they're being linked with. But for Arsenal, we're a top 6 team. They're not going to come in and make that instant impact. No. So again, it's going to be another transition year for Arsenal. And how long does Emery stick around for the transition?
But haven't some of these teams almost got to just rebuild to get back where they were and just try to stay as high as you can? I know fans won't want to hear that. No one wants to hear it. Never ever want to hear that. It's going to take time to build. But if you keep, for me, Arsenal just haven't got enough top quality players. They've lost, in my opinion, one of the best players in Ramsey because he scores. He's so. They don't have anybody that does. Player. They don't have anybody that does what Ramsey does.
No, he doesn't have that much.
So he's gone. Ozil's on the way out, on the way down. He's not interested. He's got loads of ability, but being captain, the 2 strikers are fantastic. They've got some other good players, but there's just not enough there for me to see them climbing, and it's Is it a case of going, well, what we're trying to do is build this so it stays in place, we can get back to where we were, but
there's a gap really, because they've got, as you say, they've got all those players and a lot of them are going to eventually move on. They've got some really good young players, but there's nothing in the middle. There's not any players entering the prime now, you'd say, like, because Lacazette's 27, 28, Aubameyang's 30, Ozil's older. They haven't got anyone who's entering the prime now. It's the waiting either side, really, and so they're going to be stuck unless they can buy them players, and I don't think they can afford to buy them. Interesting. Fraser's a good player. I don't think he's going to particularly set the world on fire at Arsenal, really. They haven't got really many options, really.
No. Another thing you mentioned is Spurs, because we talked about Christian Eriksen. Obviously, that's rumbling on, isn't it? Spurs want him to sign a new deal. He was linked with Liverpool last week. He's been linked with United. Yeah. He's been linked with a couple of teams abroad.
I think he's going to stay, you know.
Do you?
I think so, because what that's happened is, I think Zidane, I think Real Madrid were interested in Eriksen, then Zidane's turned around and said, we want Pogba. And obviously Zidane's, at the moment, gets what he gets. So, Eriksen, he's what, 28 now, isn't he? So, and the team's really going to invest a lot of money in Eriksen, but Tottenham, even though he's only got a year left, they're still going to want a lot of money. I don't know, I think he'll end up staying, and they'll try and go again with...
Give him a new contract, do you think?
Yeah. He's a proper strange player, isn't he? Because he's in his own sort of individual bracket. Because you say, although Pogba would be twice as expensive as Eriksen, you can just see this, it's A, age, and B, going to play with Zidane is a big selling point, and I think Pogba's on his day probably a better player than Eriksen, but it's not light and day. But I look at Eriksen and I can't put my finger on one team in world football that I'm like, I could see them going for you, because he's just, I don't know what it is, whether it's age, whether he's maybe not quick enough, maybe he's not strong enough individually. He's got phenomenal vision, incredible dead ball specialist, and he can press a man when he needs to, but there's not teams in world football that are crying out for a Christian Eriksen in their team. Do you know what I mean? Because like back in the day, there was, let's talk about 5 years ago now, it was like the battle of the tens in the Premier League, where it was like Ozil was at his peak, Eriksen was at his peak, Coutinho was in there, Hazard when he was playing in the 10. There was all these sort of fantastic tens in world football, and sort of Eriksen's the only one left sort of there, whereas everyone else seems to have filled up the holes where they need to. So I agree with you. I can't see anyone wanting him.
It's the change in styles as well. Like, a lot of teams played the 4-2-3-1 a lot of years ago. It's gone to 4-3-3. You want that dynamism in the 8th position, so Pogba provides that dynamism. He's able to carry the ball. Eriksen's more of a player who's better when you he is better when you're trying to break a team down, because obviously the pace is not, he's not needing to break on the counter-attack. And yeah, as you say, I just don't see many teams for him. I can see Italy, but then who would he go to in Italy? I suppose the Juventus would take a player like that, but they like to look at younger players, mainly. They're interested in Pogba again. Yeah, I don't see anywhere Eriksen going. I think Tottenham, like him. I think if Pochettino's going to stay, I think they'll keep the band together, maybe add one or two players and go again.
Interesting to see if he does go anywhere. Gareth Bale, onto Real Madrid. Still there. 29.
It's a risk.
Who's going to take him?
Manchester United.
Chelsea,
Manchester United. Is it be a loan, or is it going to be are you willing to invest 85 million in a 29-year-old with injury issues? It's Man United might too, because I don't know what the decision-making process is there, but if you're a smart club, you just don't invest that type of money in Bale. Don't get me wrong, if he's still, he's on his day, he's still great, but how many days is he going to have like that? How fit's he going to be?
Yeah. That's got to be, whether it's a loan, okay, fair enough, but if Manchester United signed Gareth Bale, that's got to be Ed Woodward's head. Like, if I was a United fan, 6 years of that stuff, of just marketability and shirt selling, doesn't run anymore. They've done it for 6 years. It's like 10 plus world-class names they've brought through the door. You can rattle a million off of your head, and it's like, when do you learn that that's not the way forward? You're right, 29, injury prone. It cost them so much money. He's got 3 years left on his contract. He's very much a guy that's in a golden cage, in the sense that because his price is that high, who's really going to take him? And it would only be a muggy team like United that would take him, because it would sell shirts. And the problem is they really need a right winger. And again, if evidence is to go by, Woodward would look at that and go, "Ooh, I can bring you Gareth Bale." And it's like, well, we don't want him. We want Bruno Fernandes, and we want Thomas Partey, and we want Ndombele. And he's like, "Yeah, but I've got you Gareth Bale." And it's like, you don't learn. You don't need to bring in these big name players, because he's going to be here for 2 years and then he'll be done. So, and I think, I don't know if it was Real Madrid's owner came out and said he's categorically no way he's going out on loan.
Yeah,
that's not happening.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a permanent transfer. And again,
he was going to say
United have been there before, haven't they? Though they signed Sanchez, who was, it wasn't as injury prone, but they failed to see the fact they played 700 games at 29. It was always going to be a shock. Yeah, and you can't afford to buy a player and give him a 4 or 5 year contract at 29 on so much money, and then he could just break down the next year and be finished. You know what I mean? It's too risky. You've got to be smarter than that.
Madness. The one that's still kicking around, of course, is Neymar. It seems the deal changes every couple of days, and there's millions of players being offered in exchange for him, and obviously cost PSG 200 million quid. They probably don't want to lose him, but because of the marketability of him. However, it's not been without it's been eventful, shall we say. He's missed Champions League games, quarter-finals, a couple of years on the run, and Barcelona, apparently the team that won him, Messi wants him back.
Yeah,
exactly. There's all kinds of swap deals and money being exchanged allegedly. But I mean, where, do we see him ending up back at Barca or? I
think so. The way it's gone for Neymar is he went to PSG thinking he was going to be the number one. He spent a couple of years behind with Suarez and Messi, and then within a year, Kylian Mbappe's turned up and turned the world on its head for him because he's Paris born, isn't he? So, and now I think the club Paris Saint-Germain have failed in the Champions League the last 3 or 4 years, haven't they? And they've probably done an internal review and they probably thought it's time to change the culture of the club. They're back in Tuchel, he's been kept on, he's given an extra contract. Him and Neymar don't see eye to eye. And I think they'd like to move it on. And Messi obviously loves Neymar, and I think, if I'm, Paris Saint-Germain and they offer me, Ousmane Dembele and 100 million, I'll drive Neymar there myself, you know what I mean? That's a deal worth doing. It's just not worked out for Neymar, and for whatever reason I think PSG have realised that they've made too many mistakes and given him too much power in a sense, and I think that's probably what's going to cost him being there really.
Do you see him going back to Barca?
I think Barca is probably the only place. If Neymar's going to move, it would have to be Barcelona, and I've seen stuff sort of him saying he's still got a huge affinity for Barcelona. He still loves Messi and loves the city. So again, when I referenced the golden cage earlier, I think Neymar has missed the golden cage. They've missed the £200 million on stupid wages. And I remember it came out about a month ago him saying he'd want £1 million or something in wages per week, or something like that. And it was like, right, okay, fine. But there's no way I can't see anybody paying just cash. It would have to be players plus something. I've seen Coutinho thrown in there, say Dembele. And
City was another one.
They've got Coutinho. Maybe I know he's had a bit of a bad time. Barcelona going to another club, he'd still be an effective player. Yeah. If you can restock your team by selling one player and get some money as well, they'd be in a better position.
That'd be a huge win-win for Barcelona. I think to offload Coutinho, who clearly is not in favour at the club whatsoever.
They're a bad transfer team as well. Barcelona sign players that just do not fit the system constantly. Yeah. So they need to, and having them MSN back together. They've won the Champions League with them, won the treble with them. Yeah. It fits, and the fans would be happy as well, really. And up for Paul Griezmann's on that odd man out, isn't he?
Well, I was just going to come on to Griezmann. I mean, last year Barcelona allegedly agreed a deal with them, and
just made his documentary.
Made his documentary. Then he changed had to change of heart and decided to stay for another year. Then he come out at the end of the season, said, "I'm leaving. I'm done, I'm done." Thinking Barca were going to come back in for him. Probably not expecting Neymar to be back on to Barcelona. So, I mean, what happens to him? 28 years of age.
I don't know. 2 years ago, he had United all over him before they bought Lukaku. But, I don't like Griezmann, personally. I think he's a good footballer. I don't like what he's about. He annoys me. He very much likes himself, and that's fine. You're a good footballer, but going and making a self-proclaimed documentary about this is my big plan, and it doesn't happen anyway. And it's just like, oh, sure, but it's just one of those where it's like, well, if it's Neymar or Griezmann, you wouldn't blink twice, would you? It's like, and with the opportunity to maybe offload some players that aren't working out for you, it's just like, well, cool. And I know I've seen a lot of Barcelona fans on Twitter when this was mentioned at the start saying I don't want him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he works. And again, maybe it's just not. Griezmann's destined to stay at Atletico Madrid forever by the looks of it.
Potentially, the way it could work is Neymar goes to Barca and then PSG use the money to buy Griezmann, because I think Atletico want €220 million, whatever it is. At 28, that's a lot of money. But would he fit better with Mbappe? Yes, because they played together for France and he's French, so that might work out for them. And then obviously Atletico Madrid are desperate probably to sell him because they've got João Felix, the young sensation from Portugal, lined up, and I think they want to move on in that sense. So yeah, it's difficult for Griezmann because he's probably only got, like Neymar, limited options, because how many clubs are going to want to take him? I don't think Ronaldo would want to play with him at Juventus. He's got too much power there. He has to have people working for him. So these clubs are all, and Bayern, no, 28 probably not for them either. So it's either PSG or Barcelona. If Barcelona take Neymar, that's only leaves one option. And I think, could he go back to Atletico now? Probably not. It's probably irreparable. Yeah, it's irreparable in it. So
it is bizarre. One player we've seen returning to his club this week is Matt Hummels, who left Bayern and has gone back to Dortmund. Apparently, turned down a bid from United, allegedly.
That would have been a stupid move for United.
Who knows? But I mean, Hummels still a good defender.
He's slipping back.
Yeah,
he's good. Still got all the class about him. I think going back to Dortmund probably is less pressure in a sense as well. I don't like the move. There's two ways to look at it. I think the overall deal, if they win things, is 38 million, which sounds high for a 31-year-old defender to me. But then they've got 3 other young centre-backs. Maybe they need someone to guide them. Yeah. They've got Zagadou, Akanji and Diallo. They're all good young players, but maybe they need someone to guide them through, have that experience for the Champions League as well, because they didn't get out the group stages this year. So yeah, someone like that. I think it works on that front. I'm quite obviously more into buying players who are younger, but I suppose bringing a club legend back is not the worst thing you can do.
Sells a lot of shirts.
And they are a young side, like Andy just said there. So having someone like Hummels who's got all that experience.
I think they've done things, again, I wouldn't have been the signing for me, but with the signings they've already made, their trajectories like this, and they're already a team that's flying. So I think that it's going to be very exciting for the Bundesliga next year. If you say it was exciting this year, but it's going to be even closer. Hummels is a strange one. I've seen him in the World Cup. Obviously, it's hard to say because Germany as a whole were poor, but I didn't like him then. And obviously, I saw him in person when we played Bayern Munich, and it was like he's a shadow of that Mats Hummels from 5-6 years ago. 26, 27-year-old Mats Hummels when he was electric. When it was Neuer and Hummels, and it was just like Boateng, that was the defence. And yeah, you can look at it both ways. 40 million or 36 million pounds is a good deal for Bayern, and like I say, Dortmund get to bring one of their own back home. So I suppose it's happy families for both clubs.
I suppose if Dortmund's plan is for them to bring players on, then
he had that experience bringing them on, and then Bayern have already bought 2 centre-backs in Pavard and Hernandez, so they obviously want to get them into the team. They want to sell Boateng as well, probably waiting for Man United again. But yeah, I didn't love the move, but it makes sense logically in the sense that he will sort of give them that experience to lack.
Another player, I suppose, before we finish, another player who could, is on the move, because he's already said he's on the move, is Dani Alves, who was left Paris Saint-Germain after 2 years. 36, but loads of experience. Still, I've been watching.
Today?
Yes, he scored for Brazil. He beat Peru 5-0. Yeah, he's still a very good footballer. Loads of energy, even at that age. Is there a opportunity for him to come to England before he finishes?
I suspect so. I think if the right club, offers him the right amount of money, I'm not too sure again who that club's going to be. You've got to be smart about it. And say he's 36, coming to it, you're going to pay him an awful lot of money. Maybe he'll accept a year deal, so that's not too bad. But is he going to adapt to the Premiership at 36? It's a toss-up in it. So it's more like your top 6 clubs who are going to make that sort of sign. Again,
City.
I can see because he loves Pep, doesn't he? And Pep loves him. They've been linked with Cancelo as well, so they need someone though instead of Walker, I think, in the Champions League, because Walker's always got a mistake and needs a bit of experience to get them through those games which they've lacked. But I don't know. I think at 36, could he go to somewhere like China or somewhere like? I wouldn't really want him. I'd like him to finish. I'd like him to see in the Premiership for a year, but it's very difficult to see because obviously Arsenal haven't got any money. Not a Tottenham type of signing. Manchester United have signed Wan-Bissaka, so it leaves City.
Chelsea, if they can get the ban.
Chelsea have got enough as well. Ascalapata, Reece James there as well. He's going to be back from injury. So yeah, and Liverpool, I don't think they go near him probably. So it's probably City or bust really for him.
City or West Ham.
Maybe West Ham. Yeah, got Zabaleta though, haven't they as well? So yeah, but yeah,
another 38-year-old.
OAPs at there. Right back.
I'd like to see him in England.
Yeah, I've got a really big soft spot for Dani Alves. He's one of the best right backs I've ever seen, and especially my playing days of playing FIFA back in FIFA 10 to sort of 15. He was every single year team of the year, always be in every single team that you'd ever play with because he was just the best right back in the game. And to still do it at 36, huge hats off to him. And he's not. You see a lot of players, like I say, Kyle Walker, you're even seeing it now, that lose a yard of pace. He still looks electric. When he gets going, he was that move that he played for his goal was awesome. No team would be worse off for having Danny Alves in it. He'd still, even if he went to City, he would be in rotation in that team. I'd like to see him here because, like I say, I think he's a fantastic footballer.
I suppose it'd be good for him to try his hand in. He'd have done Italy and Spain.
Do a bit of a Zlatan.
He's fit enough.
If he wins the title, you get to win a title everywhere you go as well. That looks good on the CV, doesn't it? Maxwell did it when he was following Zlatan around. So
but he does love Pep, doesn't he? And so,
I think Pep loves him as well, but I think it's just whether Pep wants that experience. He's not really done it really well. He's been City, they've sort of focused at 27 and under, but we'll see.
Interesting. It's going to be interesting. Again, like we said at the start, we're waiting for it all.
I think we're only a few weeks removed from
kick off
something big.
There's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, everyone's back, like I said before, everyone's back at pre-season next week, so you'd expect some things to fall into place. Yes, there's players away with the Copa America and the AFCON and stuff, but there's still a lot of players who aren't away with that, who are waiting on moves. And someone like Neymar, who's not even in the Copa America because of the injury. Maybe
it's a major deal to go over the line.
Exactly, it's a big deal, so that needs time. It needs weeks because they're so complex, isn't it?
Yeah, there's image rights and all that. It takes forever to work out, doesn't it? Yeah.
So it's going to be a watch this space and see what happens. But I think the domino effect will happen, and once the money starts sloshing around, everybody else starts.
Yeah, everyone will be tipping. There's only been like little movement so far. It's not really been anything major.
I just want to know, especially from a Liverpool perspective, where we're at, because obviously it was said, we're not. Shut up. This is a transfer show, Ped. This is widespread football. But just from a perspective of, I wouldn't be asked if we didn't sign anybody personally.
Yeah. Can't do that.
But equally, yeah, exactly. What
you need to have something extra. It's just in case someone gets injured. What could you do without half a season of Salah? You'd say Mane would step up, but then Firmino's not been himself. You need some sort of quality off the bench, even just to rotate for certain games. I think Liverpool need to be smart about that. But then again, it's who you bring in who's willing to play second fiddle. You can't, you've been linked with Nicolas Pepe. I doubt he's going to leave. They're playing the Champions League this year. He's going to leave to play second fiddle to them three. Even though don't be wrong, he's not earned. He wouldn't necessarily be the type of player who's just going to walk straight to the team. He's still not going to move for that thing. So Liverpool do need to sign players. It's just the right type of player and finding that player. I think they'll probably move late in the window when the prices start coming down.
Yeah, be interesting because we've when we had David Mallock in for the newsroom, he was saying our analyst team, Michael Edwards and his team, do their deals sort of 2 years in advance. So they'll sit there. They've got people in their analyst team that have worked on like the Hadron Super Collider and stuff that sit there and they'll analyse shit for ages. Genuinely, this is what he was saying. It's a part of the teams and shit. So they probably already know what's going on, but we haven't had a sniff. This is sort of because this is the first season. Last season we had two huge holes in our team, and it was goalkeeper and defensive midfielder. So you knew that that's sort of the area we were working towards. Nowadays it's left back cover and a versatile forward, but then equally, like I say, if we didn't sign them, it's not, contrasting opinions, but we could go without not signing them. If you know what I mean? So I don't know.
I think Liverpool are in a similar thing. What Spurs are in. To a lesser extent, Spurs need better players to try and get to that level. But
their squad's very thick.
What Spurs have had though, with how do you get another striker who's going to come in, who's got the quality, but will sit behind Harry Kane because they only play with one striker. You're in that little bit of how do we improve the team? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very hard because you've got to convince the player. Is that player going to come in from cold, sit on the bench all the time to make an impact? You've seen him with Tottenham. Llorente really hasn't done apart from the Champions League semi. So it isn't so say semi the quarters against Man City, but Liverpool do need those players because I think they do need a freshen up. If you look at Tottenham last season when they didn't sign anyone in the summer, a couple of points worse off the season later. You need to freshen it up and offer different things. I think Liverpool will be wise to sign someone. I hope they don't, of course, but
I think they will. I think they will. There you go. Big thanks to Bales. Been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, and thanks for watching. Give us comments. Who do you think who's going to start the domino effect? And do you think Neymar will go back to Barcelona? Let us know any of the subjects we've spoke about in the comments. Give us a subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you want more videos. Get over and watch us on Patreon. See you later.